Welcome back to another edition of the Washington Nationals here on OOTP 27. And as you can see, we are here at the offseason after winning the World Series here in 2033. That's right, we all know it. Doug Marsh and the Nationals out here winning the whole damn thing. Lots of players getting rings here. Scrolling through all these guys, even Shane Rodemaker, who had a not great season for us. Lots of players getting rings for our 107-win season and our season score above 1,000, winning the whole shebang here in 2033. And now it's time to embark on the offseason here and prepare for 2034. And Felix Bautista, who we acquired at the deadline, expecting not to meet his vesting option, does indeed not meet his vesting option. So he will be a free agent this offseason. Obviously, we will not be bringing him back at age 38 for $29 or around $29 million. That's not happening. Our loyalty has increased to average. That's good stuff. Our budget, probably, I'd imagine that's going to go up. It's up to $294 million, which if we go to our front office page, the same. It's the same from 2033. So it's the exact same. It does not go up at all. We win a World Series, and then our GM is just like, actually, no budget increase whatsoever. So that's fantastic. 80-year-old Mark Lerner, classic MLB owner type shit. Huge increase in revenue, and it still does not matter. And I've already adjusted our player development numbers, which was like super juiced, and our scouting to be about what it was. You know, we've adjusted these, and even with those, we have no money for extensions and only $10 million in total money available. So there's definitely going to be some money moving around here this offseason as some of our bench players, some of our guys that we feel are replaceable are probably going to be traded and replaced this offseason, or some guys that just hit free agency. Like, we've got Skubal for one more season guaranteed. He's going to be around, but Bautista's coming off the books here for us. We only have 2 more seasons of Wood and Ford. I mean, after 2035, these 3 guys are gone, and that's going to be some heart and soul of the team gone. Feliz we still have around for a while, same with Matamoros. Mike Sirota's gone after those 3 seasons, or the next 2 seasons, I should say. Luis Hernandez will be around for a bit. Alcia's still around for a bit. Zahir Hope, though, definitely a guy that we are going to be looking to move this offseason and move somebody else into that 4th outfielder role, because he's projected to make $7.5 million and then $10.5 next year in arbitration. And as much as we like Zahir Hope, I just don't really want to pay him that much money. I don't want to pay this guy $7.5 million when we can easily replace him as the 4th outfielder with somebody like, let's just pick a random outfielder here, like Luke Corsia might be the 4th outfielder for us. He might start, he might be the 4th, because we're probably going to bring back Dylan O'Ray if I had to guess. I mean, $7 million's a big bump for him, but I just really like what he brings to our order with having a guy who gets on base and puts the ball in play as much as him. You know, the underlying percentile rankings for him, not the best. He's not going to hit the ball hard. He's not going to hit home runs for us. He's not going to hit a ton of doubles. But he is going to walk a ton, never strike out, and provide really good base running and just put the ball in play. And when we already have so many swing and miss guys on this roster, we've got, Feliz has a decent swing and miss. Jerry Harris, actually doesn't swing and miss, really. But I think Luis Hernandez, he avoids K. Sirota's definitely going to strike out a good amount. Jet Williams is going to strike out a good amount. James Wood is always going to strike out a good amount. Brady Ebel is going to strike out a good amount. Who else do we have on this team here? So we have guys who are going to strike out a good amount, and we need some dudes to balance those guys, like Luis Hernandez, like Dylan O'Ray. And I definitely liked structuring my lineup like this in the postseason, where we were doing stuff where I was very cognizant of putting guys in a row, where it's like contact guy, on-base guy, set things up for Jerry Harris, then you get the big bopper behind him, then you get a guy who puts the ball in play behind that swing and miss guy, and then you have a power guy, Feliz, and then a guy who gets on base, and a swing and miss guy. But I was very cognizant of trying to make it to where we don't have too many swing and miss guys in a row, and it was very much like, oh, we got a guy who can hit for power, a guy who puts the ball in play, a guy who hits for power, puts the ball in play, and it's not too many in a row. So I definitely want to keep Dylan O'Ray just because, I mean, he was such a big part of our offseason here. Jerry Harris would not have had as many ribbies as he had in the offseason if we did not have Jerry Harris setting the table at the top of the order as Harry Ford struggled, but Dylan O'Reilly did not. So he's going to be back for us. I'm going to bring him back. But Hope will definitely be moved off of. Oh, I was talking about who possibly would be the fourth outfielder here. So somebody like Luke Corsia, Wilkin Tamariz, definitely a guy who's in contention to be the fourth outfielder for us. Parker Picott could be the fourth outfielder for us. We like him. Definitely a good profile for him. Unfortunately, that guy Jared Crosby, who looked like he was going to be a really good center fielder for fourth outfielder for us type guy, he has kind of fallen off after having a good season in 2031, and really every season before that in pro ball. Then goes to AAA in 2032, and it's just like, hey man, sink or swim, and he sinks 2 seasons in a row. So Jared Crosby suddenly not looking so hot, a bunch of minuses, and he's no longer even on the 40-man roster because we moved him off the 40-man roster to make room for somebody else, and even with moving him off that, nobody wanted him. So he's just on our AAA team now. Who knows what his future is? Probably not in the big leagues here with the Nationals. I do think that Jet Williams is an interesting thing for us, to where he obviously played a bunch for us, mainly good against lefties. On paper, he should be pretty decent against both sides, but he's mainly doubles and I. There's not too much pop. There's not too much actual contact there. It's doubles and getting on base with walks. And he plays a not great defense. So I think that he is somebody who is replaceable. We do like him. We like the fact that he is a captain on our bench. I don't know if he's a captain, but he's a high leader guy. Is he a captain? Where do we go here? We go team chemistry. Yeah, not quite a captain, but he's a high leader. But I mean, we've talked about this. Look how many captains / leaders we have on this roster. We're not going to lose a ton by getting rid of Jet Williams. And then we're even going to be balancing out losing a guy like Jet Williams with also losing selfish players like Hope and Bautista this offseason. But just as a rough general idea of what the team could look like this season, if we don't bring Jet Williams back, that would open up second base for us to where we could give Ronnie Cruz more of a shot, who struggled this season, was very good last year. Definitely probably somebody who probably should end up as a starting second baseman for us. So let's just say that Ronnie Cruz plays second base for us, and then Williams would be pushed away. We would then have to figure out who our backup infielder is. Maybe it's Jackson Wood. He comes up and just plays the backup infielder role for us as a captain on the roster as well. That could be an option. Obviously, Brady Ebel's going to be at first base. Or maybe Ronnie Cruz just ends up as somebody who ends up as the backup infielder. So let's say that Ronnie Cruz just ends up in this sort of role where he plays really every position there in the infield, and then he's also like secondary backup corner guy in the outfield. And then maybe Dylan O'Reilly, who's definitely more of a left fielder, but he could possibly move to second base. We could move him to second base, and then that would open up something to where, let's bring these guys onto the roster here, all the guys in the 40-man. So then this would open up some situation to where we could have, let's say, Luke Corsia plays left field, and then it opens up a possibility for Picott and Tamariz to battle for that fourth outfielder spot. Let's just put these guys here as just like we don't know who would be the fourth outfielder, but that's 2 on the bench. And then you would have the backup catcher, who's probably Melvin Jimenez. Even with his fragility issues, he's definitely the second best catcher on the team. So that's 3 guys. Assuming you pick one of these guys, we could rock a 4th one. We could go Jimenez, Cruz, and then Picott and Tamariz both end up on the big league roster to possibly, spot some time here. Maybe have Sirota not play as much. Maybe Corsia doesn't play as much. We split some time with him, with Tamariz and Picott. Definitely some options opening up there if we do that sort of situation, because I feel like Corsia is definitely a guy that we want to play a ton, get him a good amount of playing time rather than just a true fourth outfielder, because he's somebody who looks like he could be a really, really good bat for us. That I'm a big fan of these types of hitters, these big contact, gap power, speed guys. And then Picott, we like him against lefties mainly, but still can hang a little bit against righties. Did well for us in time this season. And then Tamariz is somebody we like as well. Not a ton, swing and miss. Doesn't have a great eye right now, but he does have some big pop with some high work ethic, some good speed profile, can play all over the outfield, as well as a little bit of like second base, first base if you really want him to. So he's definitely a useful player. So that might end up being what we do, is something that looks like this. Dylan O'Reilly at second, Cruz as the utility backup, and then Pacat and Tamariz along with Jimenez are the bench players. So I think that's what we would rock with here. And then, the batting order here doesn't really matter. It would be like O'Reilly, Harris, let's just say Wood in the cleanup spot. I think something like this could totally work. Maybe Ford gets worked around, but, something that looks like this, maybe Ford moves up a bit, we swap him with, I don't know, Hernandez drops into seventh or something, I don't know. But some version of this is what the team is going to look like, I'm thinking. And we're probably going to move on from somebody like Jet Williams. And yeah, that's something that interests me. So Hope and Jet Williams are probably the guys that are the odd man out when it comes to arbitration on this roster for the hitting side of things. And then when it comes to the arms, this is where things start to get a bit of a logjam going on, even more so. So when it comes to the rotation, obviously Skubal, Hardcastle, and Harris are all solidified guys. Harris up and down with his pitching, but we're hoping that he's finally going to be able to put together like a really solid pitching season. Also, I keep forgetting that we run 6-mans with him. So this opens up a spot that we're not sure who the sixth guy is going to be, but we have plenty of options here. These guys who are all listed as emergency starting pitchers are all the guys that I think could be the number 6 starter. I think the leader for that group would be Brian Fleury. I think that the number 2 guy for that group is probably either Eric Kleeman or Shane Rodemaker, and give him another chance because he is somebody who has regressed. His control has gone down. It was 60 at one point. It's not to the actually 65. It was 65 at one point. It went down to 60. He had a bit of a step back. Then it went down to 55. Even more of a step back this season with 26 games appeared in, 113 innings. Not his best work. So I think, unfortunately, he's just kind of not looking good anymore. He is slated for a $7.5 million pay increase, not 7.5 total, but $2 million pay increase up to 7.5 within the team options, which we will 1 billion% be declining. So we can decide to release him right now, but we'd be releasing him for this salary on top of the buyouts. So it would still be a pretty penny here if we decide to just bite the bullet and get rid of him. Like, it would be basically $9 million, which I'm not 100% really trying to do. We might try to see if somebody wants him, or maybe just kind of see if he can rebound in the rotation and put him as the 6th starter. But he's definitely an option for us. Josh Yorkin could be an option because we still want to see if he can figure things out, but he is starting to get up there to where he's almost 25, and I'm starting to think that he might just be one of these guys who just sits as a 45 and never reaches his potential, unfortunately, which sucks because he looks like he could be really, really good if he was ever to actually reach his potential. But unfortunately, he's just not doing that. Really, it's just mainly been a lot of potential velocity increases, but nothing with his actual ratings here. Like, his overall rating went up, but none of his control stuff and whatnot is really improving that much. So he's just kind of not looking very useful for us in the big leagues at the moment, unfortunately. And he's a guy who would be a perfect let him start as the 6th guy, see if he can get a bump because he's in the rotation in the big leagues. But also we've got other guys who we would kind of prefer to be there at the moment. So Yorkin, maybe he's a trade bait this offseason. We'll have to see. Matt De Leon as a lefty, definitely not my favorite prospect anymore that we have. Lefty, but we do need lefties, especially with some of our guys that we're losing out on. But he is a low movement, low home runs allowed, extreme fly ball lefty, which is just a recipe for disaster. But like I said, we might need a lefty because in order to open up some money and in order to open up spots in the bullpen, Wellington Herrera seems like he might be the obvious one to move on from, who is slated to make $4 million in arbitration this offseason. We could definitely replace him with a league minimum type guy, or move Alcia into a higher role and then replace Alcia with a league minimum type guy, because Ortiz is only projected to go up to 1.9, but Herrera seems like he might be the odd man out because Ortiz's arbitration isn't that high. Yoder's on a team minimum or a league minimum. So is Agro. So is Cime. Rodriguez is extended to this one more year of $5 million and then 5.5 in a team option, coming off Tommy John. Was it Tommy John? Yeah, I mean, he got Tommy John for a partially torn UCL. He did have a setback on that, so who knows what he's going to be like, but we like him. And this is all, even without talking about that we still have to remove Evan Hollick from the IL. along with Matt Pilkington, who looks like he's not really somebody we're going to be looking at long-term anymore. And then Ramon Huron, who got hurt in the minor leagues this season, who still can fill in his ratings here, but he might end up being like a Josh Yorkin type who never fills into his 60 potential. We're hoping that's not the case, but right now, not looking too hot in that category because he's almost 24 years old. So just keep in mind that when we look at these relievers here, this is still also considering that we have to bring Evan Hollick onto the 40-man and add to this group of relievers here that we like to have on the big league roster. So I'm thinking Herrera might be the odd man out because we like all the rest of these guys, and they're on cheap deals, or Rodriguez is extended, and cheap or league minimum deals like Ortiz. I think he can give us similar ratings to Herrera, and Ortiz is only $1.9 million, where Herrera, like I said, is $4.4 million. So he's looking like he's going to be the odd man out for us, unfortunately. He served us well for 3 seasons, but probably going to move on from him this offseason, unless we decide to just keep him and just kind of just have a really good bullpen. We'll see what shakes out. And then when it comes to guys in our Rule 5 eligible players list, and also just ignore the numbers on some of these teams. I know we have to clear out some of these teams, and we have a lot of guys on certain levels that we need. Like, we don't need 49 guys in AA, but a lot of these guys are dudes that like just got promoted, like this 35 guy who is not going to be on our system because he's just not useful at all. Guys like that'll be released. And it's also still doing this shit where it'll just randomly put a guy like this on a AAA team, even though, as you can see, we don't need anybody on the AAA team. It'll still just be like, here, have this 35 potential guy who can't even hang at high A in AAA. I guess he did hang at a high A, but you know what I mean. No reason why this guy should be in the AAA team. But anyways, looking at these Rule 5 eligible players, some of these guys we do want to make room on the 40-man for, and other of these guys that we might either trade or just kind of see if they don't get taken in the Rule 5. Like Gabby Berry is somebody we want to move to the 40-man because he was really, really good the past 3 seasons, elite the past 2 seasons in high A and double A in 2032 and 2033 respectively, both with 5-win seasons, hitting 20-plus home runs, hitting 20-plus doubles, walking a ton, not striking out, and playing an elite shortstop. So Gabby Berry, definitely somebody we are excited about. He looks like he could be phenomenal as a potential like backup infielder, maybe like a glove first shortstop if we need it at some point. But even with the glove, he still has a decent amount of pop and avoid K, so it's not all glove with him. We have somebody like Rich Walters, who is a lefty. This is one of these guys who's like one of these cheap lefties we could move to the 40-man, but he's also looking like he's a bit of a fake 55 potential guy who's probably just going to stick at these ratings forever because he is almost 26 years old. So he's probably not going to fill in, and he's probably somebody we're just going to leave off the 40-man roster or maybe trade because I highly, highly, highly doubt any of this fills in. Then we have somebody like Jerry Rivera, who's 21 years old. He was a scouting discovery. He's an A-ball, just kind of came out of nowhere for us. Wild repertoire with the fastball, forkball, knuckle curve, and sinker. He's an A-ball this year. Like I said, came out of nowhere for me. Probably not somebody we're going to move to the 40-man because it's only a 35 currently. If he gets taken, whatever. But usually guys like this don't get taken, and it tends to be more so guys that are like 28 and currently a 45 overall that get taken. So somebody like Gabby Berry, which is why we want to get him on the 40-man. Frank Diaz is somebody we might try to add to the 40-man, might try to trade. He's really just a first baseman who could be a really good bat, but also we have a bunch of first basemen already in the system now. We've obviously got Brady Ebel on our big league team as our everyday first baseman now. We've got Miguel Fonseca, who we like as a big power bat, as a right-handed hitter. So we don't really need somebody like Frank Diaz to be in our organization. So he's somebody we might look to possibly trade this offseason or see if he passes through. We'll see. Ricardo Marin, however you say this guy's name, another scouting discovery. He's currently hurt, so I doubt he gets taken. Plus, he's somebody who's far away from the big leagues. Then there's Frederic Solano, another guy who's far away from the big leagues, and probably a fake 50 potential guy. He's almost 25. And then among these 45 guys, it's a bunch of like overagers, Mike Alms, maybe gets added to the 40-man, depends on what opens up. Norbert Barber never really developed like we wanted him to, unfortunately. This Randy Angamus guy, he like looks whatever and also isn't really that close to the big leagues. Trevor Baumler, who we picked up from the Dodgers at one point, he's kind of just a quad A guy. Had a little bit of time in the big leagues for us, 3 starts. Isn't really somebody we're looking at to keep on the 40-man. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys like that. Maybe Benitez gets added to the 40-man or something, but probably not. Because we have Rich Leno, who, like, isn't great, but does have that 45 potential, still the 65 framing. He does have low leader, so maybe we move off Leno and add Benitez to the 40-man, but, I mean, they're both just horrible bats, so it doesn't really matter. There's the third catcher. This is one guy I do kind of like as a potential Shane Rodemaker type out of Oklahoma State for us. He is a 55 control guy who we found in, where did we get him from? Yeah, I guess just signed a minor league deal with us, and that ended up being pretty solid for us in Rochester this season. So he might be somebody we sneakily add to the 40-man, but we'll have to see what opens up for us. But you get the point. We got a lot of guys that could possibly be taken by teams in the 40-man that probably aren't worth it and also probably wouldn't really get us anything with trades anyways, so we might lose some guys in the Rule 5. It's whatever. We've got a deep system. We're at this point in the save where we know what we're doing, and a lot of the AI teams are just kind of like fumbling over themselves at all times, and really no matter what I do, they're just going to be behind. Alrighty, folks, we have gone ahead and added our players to the first set here for the Dev Lab. The first player in is Melvin Jimenez. We are once again trying to improve his fragility, possibly get this up to even normal. That would help us out a lot here. We also threw in a bunch of plate discipline guys, the first of them being Luke Corsia. I just feel like with his speed and gap power already quite high, if we could just get the eye up there to be that high as well, and he's kind of like a better Dylan O'Reilly, where he's got that kind of contact and this elite gap with the speed, and if he could just get on base a bunch, that would be fantastic. Then we have Parker Picotte, who had the big bat speed upgrade last offseason. See if we can tap into some of this potential here on the eye, make him a bit better of a player there, get on base more often, because he does have some decent speed to go along with that. And then we have Wilkin Tamarez, same sort of thing with him. Pretty much everything else is already filled in. The eye still has some potential there, so we're going to see if we can make him a bit more of a guy who gets on base to go with his speed as well. And then we picked up this Miguel Caraballo guy who we just traded for from the Padres. We traded Jet Williams to him, just straight up. Jet Williams getting off his money, bringing in this catcher who is going to be like our third catcher right now. Rich Leno is no longer the third catcher. This guy is it. And then maybe somewhere down the line, if everything works out perfectly, we've got this guy and Melvin Jimenez as like a tandem catcher situation for us once Harry Ford leaves in a couple seasons. And now we move things on to Mateo Reyes, trying to tap into some of this control potential, make him a bit more viable. Obviously, he had a really good season for us. We would like him to be even better for us. And then there was Eric Agro trying to improve his pitch movement. He still has a bunch of potential there. He has a potential other stuff too. We could have gone for like velo or something. Honestly, let's go for velo. Eric Agro, get out of there. Now that I look at that again, let's see if we can pump up the man's velo here. Get it up into the low 90s possibly, like sitting 91, 92. That would be fantastic. Maybe get a stuff bump, a fastball bump to go with his 3 fastballs. Oh, I didn't even realize he's a 3 fastball guy, but that would be fantastic if we could get a bump there. And then moving things on to Miguel Fonseca, trying to tap into his plate discipline. He's already got a bunch of pop, some good BABIP, okay gap power. Don't really think the Avoid K is worth it with it being this slow to start, but if we can possibly tap into some of this eye potential, that would be fantastic for him. Adrian Quiones, who is a Costa Rican right-handed pitching prospect we have in the system, kind of came out of nowhere, scouting discovery in 2029. He was in high A for us this past season, did very well in A-ball the previous season as well, so he's dominant at A. He'll be in Double A to start the season. We'll just do that right now. He'll be in Harrisburg. If we can try to get this control bumped up as well, I'm trying to shoot for that 55 potential control because we all know how big the difference between 50 and 55 is in this game. And then there is Joel Cooley, who was the catcher we picked up in the draft this past season in 2033. out of Southern Arkansas. He's the big-time gap power speed guy. If we could try to tap into some of this eye to go along with that, to make him even more useful to go with the speed, that would be fantastic. And then trying to make one of our lefty minor league guys a bit more useful. I don't think the movement's going to go up because he's already 45 out of 45, even though he only has 40 out of 45 home runs allowed. I'm trying to make him really, really useful with the control, maybe get this up to 50, make it a bit more viable to go with the curveball cutter combo here, and maybe he's the guy we add to the 40-man onto the Major League roster as a lefty option for us here in the bullpen this season. And then the last one, we already went over Eric Agger, obviously, but the last one we actually added was Bobby Matamoros, who 80-grade closer for us, but the thing about him is that he has 25 stamina, and he's got the high adaptability and the high work ethic, so I figured, why not try to get a bit more value out of him? If we can get his stamina up even to 30, I would feel much more comfortable about having him as a stopper for us, and then just making our bullpen even more deadly rather than just limiting him to like 40-ish innings a year as a true closer. If we could bump up his innings, make him pitch more, that would obviously make him way, way more valuable. So that is what we were shooting for here. Obviously, it's a very hard program, endurance training, but we're going to go for it. He's got the adaptability and the work ethic. Maybe it works out. Alrighty, folks, we have reached the point of the offseason where the awards have been given out here for the 2033 season, and your National League MVP for a fourth time? Yes, a fourth time in his career, Elly De La Cruz. Bit of a down year with a 6-win season, not quite a sixth straight 8-win season, if you can round up a 9 for some of these, but, still 6.6 wins, incredible player. Just ridiculous. Obviously, we ran into him in the playoffs, and he was really good, but we ended up beating him anyways. So joke's on him. Runner-up ended up being Alfonso Garcia of the Arizona Diamondbacks, with Matt Wentz of the Marlins behind them in third place. And then our first vote-getter here for the MVP was Jerry Harris, way down here, and he was our only vote-getter. Moving things on to the American League side of things, the MVP, Cody Thomas of the Minnesota Twins, a contact doubles hitting with no power first baseman who, no, wait, never mind, he's a two-way guy. They've got their own two-way guy out of the University of Tennessee, Cody Thomas. 4 WAR at pitching, or at hitting, and 3 WAR at pitching. So he is already on the scene as a more productive pitcher, and pretty much just the same. I mean, more of a high-level hitter because he won MVP, and Jerry Harris hasn't done that, but Jerry Harris did just break the single postseason RBI record by quite a bunch. So he's got that going for him, while Cody Thomas has these regular season accolades going for him. And then in the National League, the Cy Young winner of the National League, Jason DeCaro out of UNC. He just pitched a bunch in the postseason in real life in college, putting together a 5-win season here for the Cardinals. Runner-up ends up being Antonio Ortiz of the Braves, and then Jorge Gomez of the Cincinnati Reds. And then Scooble. Scooble was 4th in the voting. Dax Hardcastle was here as getting votes as well. Edwin Alcia got votes. A lot of good pitchers on our staff. Over on the American League side of things, it was Danny Wilson of the Los Angeles A's out of FIU, puts together a 6-win season with the A's. Not the A's, the Angels. What am I saying the A's for? The Los Angeles Angels getting a Cy Young Award winner. Hell yeah. And a runner-up. I didn't even realize this. Mick Abel also. Runner-up for the Cy Young as a waiver claim a few years back. They picked him up from waivers in 2028 from Minnesota, and he's just been an absolute stud in their rotation ever since then. That is crazy. The Angels with a crazy pitching staff. And then third place, Bubba Petrak of the Tampa Bay Rays. And then Brian Wu still getting it done. 4th place in Cy Young votes. Brian Wu, 33, almost 34 years old. Just been an absolute workhorse here in the American League with the Mariners since season 1. And then, of course, our manager ends up getting the Manager of the Year for the National League. Hopefully he doesn't start thinking that he should start managing too much of the stuff. He's still green for most things, so that's good to see. But even if he does start getting a bit crazy with stuff, if we look at his ratings here, he does agree with a lot of the stuff that we do here. So it's not like a lot of this stuff would really change too much if he started taking over in yellow and red in some of these. And then when it comes to the Rookie of the Year, the National Leagues was Diego Amenegual, Dominican infielder, big-time player, 6-win season here with the Cardinals, number 11 prospect. Really good player between him and Jason DeCaro on the pitching side of things. And then over on the American League side of things, it was a Chicago White Sox player, an Antonio Camarena, 20 years old, out of Venezuela, breaking on the scene this season. Definitely more so National League slanted here in the rookies this season. Looks like there wasn't too many American League rookies if this guy is winning the award, but, congratulations to him nonetheless. And then over on the Silver Slugger side of things, do we have any Silver Sluggers? We did not in the National League. And then when it comes to the Gold Glovers, we also had no Gold Glovers. But did we have a Reliever of the Year? No, what am I looking for here? No. Bobby Matamoros ends up as the runner-up. Close vote between him and Grant Brush of the Brewers, who we did run into during the postseason quite a few times. But, once again, Grant Brush gets the regular season award, and then Bobby Matamoros gets the World Series. And then Ben Gardenhire, third on this list as the back-to-back seasons of being the closer here for the Giants. 46 saves in year 1 and then 36 saves in year 2 for him. Once again, don't really know why they're not starting him with 60 stamina, or at least using him as a stopper. But for whatever reason, or maybe they are using him as a stopper, only 36 saves, but 72 in the third innings. So maybe they're not quite using him as a traditional closer, but he could definitely start for them. Alrighty, folks, we have reached the point of the offseason where it is time to go over the IFA class. We have another 4-man class this season. The best of the bunch, at least ratings-wise right now, is Danny Hernandez. Danny Wildfire Hernandez, a catcher out of Mexico. 55 framing, 60 arm, high leader, high work ethic, and then 3 true outcomes, 80 grade power potential, 75 grade eye potential. So a 3 true outcomes, decent defensive catcher, that's pretty intriguing. He is 16 years old. We picked him up for $2.4 million out of Mexico. Then we move things on to Bernard Roberts here. He was actually the last guy that we picked up here with the rest of our money. But he's from the Bahamas. He's a shortstop. Could possibly be a shortstop. Probably more going to be a second baseman, third baseman, though, with 55 turn DP. But he has some decent power. We don't really have him scouted that well right now, but he was just interesting enough with the high work ethic. Or we picked him up, 16 years old, for $1.5 million out of the Bahamas. Then we also picked up a couple pitching prospects. First one out of Panama, a right-hander, 16 years old. Big-time control guy, big-time stamina guy. Picked him up for $950,000. And then there was Victor Vasquez out of Venezuela. He is Venezuelan-Nicaraguan. Big-time movement, big-time fastball. Only 45 control, but we could possibly work on that as he develops. High baseball IQ. Like I said, huge control, huge hold runners. Right-handed pitcher, 17 years old. Out of Venezuela for $2.8 million. Alrighty, folks, we have reached the end of the offseason here, preparing for the 2034 season. It is 2034 opening day, so it's time to go over everything that happened here in the offseason. And spoiler alert, not much happened this offseason. It wasn't a lot of moves. We had a lot of guys in place, a lot of guys that just got called up from the minors that have now are in spots. It's not a lot of movement aside from a couple trades and then extending some guys, but no big extensions, just a lot of like 1-year stuff. So we'll start things off here. Wellington Herrera was sent to the Arizona Diamondbacks along with just a throw-in guy to make the trade work. He is now on the D-backs roster. He's actually their closer right now. So Wellington Herrera no longer a part of our team here. We ended up getting just kind of a throw-in lefty in Joe Ferris here. He's a AAA guy for us right now. Maybe he can develop, maybe he can't. But for now, he's in the minors for us. And then the other main piece was Brent Wilhelms, this catcher, who's got 60 framing, 65 blocking, and 60 arm. Really good in very limited time last season in AA. Also spent a good time in High A, was good in both leagues. And he looks like he could be a decent catcher with some pop here. So he's the main piece. The other guy is the secondary piece. Just a little something, nothing too crazy as an acquisition for Wellington Herrera, who we were trying to get off of his money to just open up some spots so we could crank up our player development and, do what we do with the money. And then we also picked up a couple players in return for Zahir Hope, who we traded to the Baltimore Orioles. He is their starting right fielder this season, or at least that's what you would expect, but he's on this team. We trade him to the other DMV team, as now we have Joshdy Castillo, who is on our AAA team. He was a 55 when I traded for him. He's a 60 right now. Had a good spring for us. And when I traded Zahir Hope, he was a 55. And when I picked this guy up, he was a 55. So it was like a 55 for 55 thing. Kind of just picking up a guy with less money than Hope, less proven, and the Orioles were offering him to me. So I figured I would pick up this guy and then just kind of a throw-in lefty. Maybe I thought he could develop and possibly be a lefty in our bullpen, but it's looking like it's not going to be the case for him. Byron Benedict here. And that was literally all we did this offseason, aside from just extending guys on arbitration just for like 1 year, a little bit less than they were asking for, stuff like that. There was nothing else we did. So move things right on into the programs here. The first set of them, Melvin Jimenez, we actually got a big-time boost. We've gotten 2 back-to-back fragility increases for him in the offseason. So he is now normal, bordering on fragile, which was a big improvement to where he was a couple off seasons ago. You could see we had 2 straight, or no, this was just learn new position. Okay, so we had an unsuccessful one, but I think we had a successful one like a season before that or something. I don't remember. But I know at some point we did get a second one, and now he is normal, bordering on fragile. So that is a big thing for Melvin Jimenez, because he could possibly get some really good catching time for us once Harry Ford leaves this team in 2 seasons. I should mention we also have this guy, Dave Flores, who is an international free agent signing for us in 2030, who has been developing very nicely. As you can see, he's already a 40 overall, 80 potential. 60 framing. The arm and blocking are definitely suspect for this guy. We're definitely going to be cranking up a bunch of defensive dev labs for him the next couple seasons and see if we can get lucky there, because right now he's not somebody I would really want to start at catcher, but this bat may force its way into our lineup if he keeps developing, because right now he's the number 7 prospect, and he's in Harrisburg to start 2034 as a 21-year-old. Just wanted to show that real quick. But now going back to the dev labs here, the next successful one we had in the first set was Luke Corsia improved his eye, just by a little bit, nothing too noticeable, but he did get a power boost just on his own over the offseason. His current power went up, and he's even a 50 potential power now. He's the starting left fielder. I'm expecting a pretty big year from Luke Corsia here this season. And then Parker Picat, big increase for him with the plate discipline. He now has 50 discipline, 50 eye, 55 potential, looking like a real solid player for us. And then Wilkin Tamariz, just a little bit of an improvement to his eye, 45 out of 50 at the moment for him. I believe it was 40 out of 50 before the dev lab. Miguel Caraballo, the catcher we picked up from the D-backs, was it? No, from the Padres. From the Padres, he's in AAA for us this year, but he had also had a big increase to his current eye rating. He has a 50 out of 55. So, if Jimenez gets hurt or somebody gets hurt, this guy is much better of a third catcher to have on the roster than Rich Leno was. Now, not as good defensively, but definitely still not a slouch defensively either. And then we had Mateo Reyes had a big improvement to his control. He now has 50 control with 70 potential. And then there was Miguel Fonseca, who had a big improvement to his eye. He now has 45 eye with 65 potential. Would love to see him start tapping into some of this power and eye more so this season. Looking for a big AAA year from Fonseca. And then we had Adam Ridnour, who improved his control just a little bit, nothing too crazy, but he does have the potential up to 50 for him now. And now moving on to the defensive set of DevLab improvements. The first successful one was Parker Picat learned second base. I kind of just threw that on there, just like hoping he would get like a big boost to his infield defense and maybe get some more possible there. Didn't really get too big of a boost, though, but he did learn how to play a lousy second base, so whatever. We also had Gabby Berry learn how to play center field, get a decent bump to his outfield ratings as well. So now he's got 55 range, 65 arm on the outfields. He could definitely be a solid corner guy for us, but Gabby Berry in AAA for us as a backup infielder right now, depth infielder. And then we had Melvin Jimenez, who had a big time increase to his learned first base here. You could see he is now a really solid catcher, and he can play a really solid first base. So Melvin Jimenez opening up some variety there for his just way on the team to get playing time here. And then we also had a successful base stealing program for Josh DeCasillo, who came over in the offseason. Nothing too major, but it's 65 stealing ability, 60 steal tendency. Then we had a successful learn new position for Dylan O'Ray. I was hoping he was going to learn right field or shortstop or something like that, but he learned first base as a 5'7" guy. So unfortunate, but now he knows how to play a bad first base at that height. And then we also had Luis Hernandez improve his stealing a little bit. And then Brady Ebel, once again, another guy who I was hoping was going to learn how to play like left field or right field or something, but instead learned how to catch. So now he can be like a semi-emergency catcher, essentially. And then before we go over what our actual big league roster is going to look like here for 2034, I should mention that Evan Hollick is still not fully recovered from his ruptured UCL that he suffered at the beginning of last season. So he is going to miss about 5 weeks, little over a month, then plus a long rehab as well. So he's probably not going to come back until like mid to late May, if I had to guess, here for 2034. So he missed basically all of 2033, and then he's going to miss a good chunk to start 2034, unfortunately. But when he comes back, we are excited to have him back in a high leverage role in the bullpen. But now taking a look at the pitching staff here, 1 to 5 in the rotation. 1 through 3 is Tarek Skubal, Dax Hardcastle, and Jerry Harris, as you would expect. And then number 4 is actually going to be Isaac Leone, who was a big-time playoff performer for us last season. He was that 4th starter in the playoffs and really held down that role. And now he's going to carry that here into 2034. And then behind him, it's going to be Alex Rouse, who's actually gotten a big potential bump to 60 here, expecting big things from him this season. And then 6th is going to be Eric Kleeman, the former first-round pick for us in 2031 out of Ball State, and not Brian Fleury. Eric Kleeman, with the big-time control and movement, is going to be the guy who gets the nod as our 6th starter in our 6-man rotation. Well, in the bullpen, we've got closer Bobby Matamoros, who unfortunately did not improve his stamina, but he's going to be here as the back-end high-leverage guy. And then we've had Edwin Alcia as the new stopper against lefties. He's got that 40 stamina. And then we've got Miguel Sime as the stopper against righties. He has that 35 stamina. And then in the setup roles, it is Robinson Ortiz / setup high leverage. And then he's the lefty, 25 stamina on him. And then Mateo Reyes as the righty in the setup role, 30 stamina on him. So pretty solid back end, even without Herrera and Hollick on the team to start. And then when it comes to the middle relief guys, Jose Rodriguez and Eric Agro are back as middle relief and / setup. Rodriguez missed all of 2033. He gets ready here for 2034 opening day. Excited to have him back in the rotation as a big strikeout man. And then Eric Agro as a big-time control movement player for us. And then Kevin Yoder is the only one who's really capable of being a long reliever, so he's middle relief / long relief with his big-time fastball slider mix with the 80 grade stuff and 40 stamina. So that is his role. And that is the pitching staff. Take a look at the hitting side of things, where we will look at, against both sides, it's pretty much the same thing. Leading things off at second base, it's Dylan O'Ray, Jerry Harris DHing, Angel Feliz at shortstop, James Wood in right field, then Harry Ford catching, Brady Ebel at first base, Mike Sirota in center field, Luis Hernandez at third, and Luke Corsia in left. Corsia is going to have every third game with Tamariz against righties, and then against lefties, it's every third game with Picot. At least that's the way the season's going to start. One of these guys may really establish themselves. I'm expecting Corsia to eventually turn into the everyday starter, or the majority starter, I should say, in left field. But for now, we're going to let the other guys mix in a little bit for us. As in the bench, along with Tamariz and Picot, who are mixing in left field and the outfield, we also have Ronnie Cruz as the main backup infielder, and then, of course, Melvin Jimenez as our backup catcher. And now it is time to take a look at the preseason predictions here for the 2034 campaign. Starting things off on the American League side of things, the Toronto Blue Jays and Baltimore Orioles are both predicted to be 90-plus winners in that East Division, with the Yankees, Rays, and Red Sox all below 500. Over in the Central side of things, the White Sox, Twins, and Tigers are all projected to be beating up on each other, both all low 80 wins, or all three low 80 wins. And then the Guardians and Royals are the cellar dwellers. While over in the West, it's going to be the Astros running away with things, with the Rangers, Mariners, Athletics, and Angels behind them in that order. While over on the National League side of things, the Nationals actually predicted to win 100-plus games here, but the Mets, 99 right behind us. So it might be a tough division here in the NL East this season, with the Braves that at 81 wins, and Phillies and Marlins behind them. Well, over in the Central, 3 teams predicted for 80-plus wins: the Reds, Brewers, Pirates, and Cardinals in that order, and then the Cubs behind them as the cellar dweller. While over in the West, same sort of thing, lots of teams beating up on each other: Padres, Rockies, Dodgers, Giants, all with solid predictions there as competitive teams, and then the Diamondbacks as the cellar dweller of the West. Do we have any respect on the hitting side of things? Jerry Harris getting respect when it comes to the hitting side of things, but no James Wood, unfortunately, for whatever reason. And then over on the pitching side of things, no respect whatsoever, because of course,